More students fail my classes because they don't know how to write a paper than for any other reason. My name is Dr. Hanson, and welcome to Pharos Technology. I've been teaching for over 15 years at the university level, and unfortunately, I've had to fail a fair number of students. I'm not an English professor. In fact, I work in IT. I started this channel to help students like you find out how to succeed in my classes, and frankly, in any university course. And more often than not, failure doesn't come from students not understanding the material. It comes from not knowing how to write a paper. In this video, I'm going to show you the biggest failures that I've seen in papers that I receive. I'll show you how you can use my method to avoid them and give you options that you can do it no matter what your budget is. But before we get started, I want to share with you what happens on the day after a semester ends. I usually spend most of my time catching up on grading the final papers, entering those grades in the system, and finalizing the class. Inevitably, there's at least one student who sends me an email that reads something like this. Dr. Hanson, I hope you had a great weekend. I submitted my final paper on Saturday night. I hope you will find it is up to standard. Unfortunately, I found out this morning that I accidentally forgot to include my references page. I've attached it here. Well, that doesn't help. It needed to be attached to the paper, not to an email. And I've already graded the papers because, believe it or not, universities have you submit the final grades the day after the class is finished. So you've got to be all caught up. So a student that doesn't make it on time kind of just loses. Well, okay, let's look at the next one. Thank you for the excellent class. Thanks, I appreciate the compliment. I just saw the grade for my final paper and was confused when I lost points because the paper was too short. I'm not sure what went wrong with the formatting on your end. Please let me know when the issue has been resolved. Okay, how do I resolve that issue? Do I write more paper for her and submit it on her behalf? I don't think so. Okay, well, let's take a look at this last one. Oh, brother, how do I do APA formatting? 8 weeks in the class and you haven't figured that out yet? Okay, fine. You know, each one of these students received a poor grade in the class. And at the private university where I teach, that sometimes means they fall below academic standards. And that's why I'm sharing you this foolproof system. I don't want to fail any more students who know the material but don't know how to write the paper. This method has 3 parts that are essential to getting that perfect grade. We'll start by helping you to master citations. Then we'll jumpstart your writing so that you can get your ideas from your head onto the paper in record time. Finally, we'll build a tool to save you hours each week on your papers. What sets apart academic papers from an opinion piece at a local newspaper? Is it the subject covered? Is it the more formal tone and standards we have at universities? Yes, these are certainly differences. But what really separates them is the purpose of the paper. News articles are meant to inform or persuade the public. On the other hand, an academic paper is written to contribute to a field's body of knowledge. While you're not likely to publish any of your essays or term papers, you may end up publishing a thesis or a dissertation at the end of your degree, like what I did when I completed my PhD. Because we're focused on contributing to a body of knowledge, we must share the information that we've gathered, the people we've learned from, and the sources we use when writing our papers. The purpose of the citation is to help the reader to verify what you've written and to expand on their own knowledge. And as an instructor, that's the single biggest problem that my students fall into, not knowing how to cite their references properly. The bad news is that proper citation is a complex subject. There are 3 major standards for citations: APA, MLA, and Chicago style. Generally, APA, made by the American Psychological Association, is used in the social sciences. This is what my classes use and is by far the most common. The second is MLA, made by the Modern Language Association. It's used in the humanities and literature and languages. It's a more narrative-focused style. And finally, the Chicago style is used in history and in some of the humanities. Your classes will clearly state which style to use. For the most part, you'll only have to learn one style. Which style do you use? If you use MLA, do you like a more narrative format? Let me know what degree you're working on and what style you use in the comments. So let's get on to our very first tip. Keep a record of everything you read. I can't tell you how many times I have read something, but not remember where I read it. If you don't keep a record of everything you read, you won't be able to find it. Trust me, that frustration just isn't worth it. And the best way I've found to keep track of the books and articles I read is with Zotero. Zotero is an app that can track your references. Insert references into your document and automatically create your references page. You can do this in MLA, APA, Chicago, or literally any other style. It has saved me a ton of time since I started using it. Go to Zotero.org and create an account. It's completely free and it's available for Windows, Mac, Linux, and for mobile on iOS devices. What makes it so useful is Zotero's library of plugins for every major browser and word processing application. Right now, I have the Zotero plugin for Chrome and for Microsoft Word. If I go to buy a book from Amazon, I can add the reference to the book itself with one click. It will cite books from most major retailers, from Barnes & Noble to my favorite used bookstore, A-Books. Additionally, you can get a citation from a news article or an academic article just as easily. It captures all the information that you need for your citation. Then, when I'm writing my paper, all I have to do is install the plugin to Word, then click in the text where I want the in-text citation, then go to the Zotero menu, click on the button, Add Edit Citation. Search for my reference in the search window that pops up for Zotero, then select the reference that I want. Once the paper is finished, you can add a references page just as easily. When you need the references page filled out, go to your page at the end of the paper. Then click your mouse where the first entry should be and click the button Add Edit Bibliography. Zotero remembers all the references made in your paper and creates a flawless references or works cited page, according to which standard you're using. This alone is worth a chunk of my students' grades. Any student who uses this gets a perfect score for their citations. Okay, that's part one of the method. On to part two. We're about to get down into the weeds, so stick with me here. Once we get through the most difficult part, I'm going to give you the single biggest time-saving technique I know to shave hours off every paper you write. Once your research is done, you probably know what to say, but sometimes finding a way to transcribe your thoughts from your head to the paper is like assembling a puzzle, except you don't have the box to the puzzle, and you might not even have all the pieces yet. Luckily, your professor gave you the first piece of the puzzle in the syllabus or the assignment instructions. Pay attention to the words analyze, assess, discuss, or prove. These words tell you the purpose of the paper. For example, I have one assignment where I give the students two sources and ask them to synthesize the information and come to a conclusion. Synthesize combines multiple products or ideas to create something new. Before you do any research, you could likely come out with an outline that looks like this: the strengths of source A, the strengths of source B, the unique strengths of A plus B. For a paper that asks you to compare or contrast two sources, it might instead look like this: the strengths plus weaknesses of A, the strengths and weaknesses of B, and the strengths that A has and B share with it. In longer format papers, like the final for one of my classes, I include a list of elements that the paper must include. If your instructor did that, just copy and paste those elements directly into the paper and turn them into the headings for your outline. The second piece of the puzzle is to lay out what you want to say. Do you already have a conclusion in mind? Put that down. Just write the idea, but not the whole paragraph. Do you know what major points you want to make? Write those down. Personally, I like using bullet points to sketch out each idea. You should be building at least 3 bullet points under each heading. Every outline should follow the rule of 3s whenever possible. The entire paper is split up into 3 parts: introduction, body, and conclusion. The body should be split into 3 parts containing your 3 main points. Longer papers could be further broken down into separate 3s. Once you have a general idea of what you want to say, then begin writing the paper from the middle outward. That means starting from the body of the paper first. Write your strongest point first, and then once the body is complete, you should have a lot better idea of what the subject is. Then it's time to write the conclusion. In a few sentences, tell the reader what you've demonstrated in the paper. Finally, write the introduction. Remember, this is an academic paper, not a novel. Use the introduction to tell the reader what your paper is about and what you're going to demonstrate. Okay, now we're on to the final point. Thanks for sticking with me this long. The truth is that you will save more time on one paper than you have spent watching this video. If you found something helpful in this video, please hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. The whole reason why I started this channel is to share what I've learned throughout my career with students. If you'd like to continue this path to graduation, hit the subscribe button as well. I'll be there to give you the hints you need along the way. Do you know how many settings you have to change in Microsoft Word to conform with APA guidelines? I'll give you a little hint. It's a lot. The title page, line spacing, margins, header and footer, references page, headings, in-text citations, just to name a few. If you're in a degree program like mine, where I wrote up to 3 papers a week for years on end, that's a ton of wasted time if you don't have a process. If I hadn't developed this method before working on 3 papers a week for 3 years during my PhD program, I would have wasted around 40 hours just getting started. Imagine spending 40 hours just playing with font sizes or other settings. The solution is to do it once and be done with it. Most professors will let small issues slide, but since you're doing it just once for your whole degree, it's worth the time to put in to do it right. While you can get the settings right and copy the document every time you go to use it, there's an even easier way with templates. By saving your document as a template, you'll immediately be able to open a brand new document every time you open the template. Just like when your grandpa used to send you Christmas cards using clip art from Publisher when you were a kid, you can create your own template in Word that takes care of all the settings for you at once. Select File, Save As, and select Word Templates from the drop-down menu. So there you go. With this method, you'll waste less time and get those papers written so you can really show your teacher what you know. We only briefly went over Zotero's features in this video. I seriously love how good it is. I made a full video guiding through setting it up and using it. Click on that video here. Thanks for watching and have a great day.